Now this is probably something me and old Pastor Dow should do a double Skype video recording on. I've had this since Wednesday, but I've had this server problems with the my web hosting server for his website, my website, and it's a big pain in the butt to redo another server for that. But I did, and it's back to normal. So I don't have time to do it tonight. I know he doesn't either. So I'm just gonna do this by myself. And there's a lot of interesting things happening here very recently. And again, I'm like 2 days behind now, so I'm sure you guys have heard of this stuff. Some of this is from Zero Hedge with my own comments and other things, but he says, stop us when this confession from Greg Smith, a now former executive director and head of the Goldman's United States Equity Derivatives business in Europe. Keep that in mind. Derivatives business in Europe. Because something else I want to read you a little later. So keep that in mind. Derivatives, he was in charge of this, running it, head of it, and he's stepping down. Right now, when in a matter of days, Greece and the people who bet on that Greece debt, who are now getting their credit default swaps insurance, ring around the rosy, are going to have to kick in around the 19th or 20th of this month, a few days from now. And basically, he says, why I am leaving Goldman Sachs. Today is my last day at Goldman Sachs after almost 12 years at the firm, first as a summer intern while at Stanford, then in New York for 10 years, and now in London. I believe I have worked here long enough to understand the trajectory of its culture, its people, and its identity. And I can honestly say that the environment now is as toxic and destructive as I've ever seen it. To put the problem in the simplest terms, the interests of the client continue to be sidelined in the way the firm operates and thinks about making money. Goldman Sachs is one of the world's largest and most important investment banks, and it is too integral to global finance to continue to act this way. The firm has veered so far from the place I joined right out of college that I can no longer in good conscience say that I identify with what it stands for. It might sound surprising to a skeptical public, but culture was always a vital part of Goldman Sachs' success. It revolved around teamwork, integrity, a spirit of humility, and always doing right by our clients. The culture was the secret sauce that made this place great and allowed us to earn our clients' trust for 143 years. And here's a prime example of just cyclical nature kicking in gear. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do. It's done. It's going away. Goldman Sachs will be some kind of thing of the past sometime in the near future. It'll never be the way it was. Interesting to see that. Oh, but it lasted 143 years, which is like a blink of an eye when you think about it. It wasn't just about making money. This alone will not sustain a firm for so long. It had something to do with pride and belief in the organization. I am sad to say I look around today and see virtually no trace of the culture that made me love working for this firm for many years. I no longer have the pride or the belief. So he goes on. It goes on a little longer. He talks about how some of his executive buddies in the office would literally refer to their clients as, you know, Muppets, and what do you say? Go and let's go hunt some elephants. So, having said that, this guy was in charge of derivatives. Keep that in mind. CME Group CEO leaves under cloud of MF Global collapse. Craig Donohue of the CME Group, CEO of the CME Group, has announced he will retire in December 2012, which marks the end of his contract. CME touts itself as the world's leading and most diverse derivatives marketplace. Long story short, he's 49 years old and he's retiring. Okay. And what was that last statement again? That coincided with the first statement with Goldman Sachs. The world's leading and most diverse derivatives marketplace. Interesting statement. Oh, what's this? Oh, here's another story I gotta read you. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. No, I didn't forget about it. CFTC vacates CME Clearing Europe limited registration as a derivatives clearing organization. What? But it just said that they're the world's leading and most diverse derivatives marketplace. Why in the hell, if you're the world's leading at anything, would you want to get out of there? Why would you want to quit? And why would this come a matter of days before the Greek settlement with the credit default swaps, which is all derivatives nonsense, has to kick into gear? Huh. Just it's probably just coincidence. I should probably call Bozo Beast. I bet he's got a mind full of information on all this stuff, you know, since he's done so many videos on it. Oh wait, he hasn't done any videos. Never mind. At the request of CME Clearing Europe Limited, CME Group, pursuant to Section 7 of the Commodity Exchange Act, the Commodity CFTC Commission issued an order on March 13, 2012, vacating the registration of the CME Clearing Europe as a derivatives clearing organization. And there's even a little link for the CFTC site if you want to read about it, which there's no point in reading about it. And as Zero Hedge said, did you catch that the removal status was not at CFTC saying, hey, you guys need to get out of here? It was the CME Group themselves saying, we would like to get out of here. Please remove us. Now that's interesting, because I wonder if CME Group's preparing for something. Like, I don't know, the global derivatives meltdown. Doesn't mean it's going to take place on March 20th, March 19th. But I think that was the weak chain that starts the whole thing. It'll be interesting to see how fast it comes down, one way or the other. There is a raging wildfire behind the scenes as the entire 50 trillion, whatever, quadrillion credit default swap market is imploding due to the Greek default. The losses will come fast and furious once the auction is held on March 19. The ISDA's 2009 Big Bang Protocol will be put to the test next week. It was a very tough week for the CME. Their CEO leaves, another commodity brokerage house gets in hot water, and by the way, regarding that, I'm going to read that next. And now they are withdrawing from the European derivative clearing, right when their services will be needed the most. I wonder why. MBF Clearing is the other MF Global, by the way. In other words, the other same thing as MF Global. MBF Clearing is sued by CFTC over claims customer funds weren't segregated. What? You mean there's more than one? I already read you the other one from Canada the other day. Remember that? Well, about several weeks ago anyways. So we had the one in Canada where their regulatory agency said the same thing. We're advising all parties dealing with them to leave because they are not segregating customer funds. They are intermingling them with their own, and that's dangerous. So our advice is to get your money out, get your contracts out, etc. So here's another one. This is the third or fourth one, by the way, of MF Global scenario. MBF Clearing Corp was sued by the CFTC and accused of failing properly to segregate customer accounts from its own and of violating the Commodity Exchange Act. And by the way, if the CFTC is going after this little old MBF, which isn't even a huge player, and they specifically stated for failing to properly segregate customer accounts from their own, then why did MF Global do the same thing and there's no problem? Maybe the CFTC is saying, well, we can't sue them now. They're bankrupt. They're going away. So we can't sue them. No, maybe that's what their whole thing is. MBF employees from September 08, you mean the height of the first part of this major crash, economic worldwide problem, which is exactly September 08. MBF employees from September 08 to March 2010 deposited 30 million to 60 million in customer funds into a U.S. government money market fund at J.P. Morgan Chase & Co. without properly segregating them, the CFTC alleged today in a complaint filed in federal court in New York. So they've been doing this. We have a financial collapse staring us in the face. September 2008, October 2008, Iceland goes bankrupt. Remember that? October the 7th or 8th, I think, exactly spot on date, the Webbot called for global financial collapse to start taking place. Again, Webbot, how the hell did it know this thing? And again, it's not perfect. I know it misses things, but it also gets things, and that's why I pay attention to it. Because I would at least like to know of a potential thing to happen that I didn't even know about thanks to the Webbot. So I do follow that old girl. So September 08 all the way through March 2010. The entire time frame beginning at the collapse in which bailout, TARP funds, GM bailout, all this stuff happened. Quantitative easing 1, quantitative easing 2, etc. Trillions and trillions, $16 trillion printed by the Federal Reserve to bail out U.S. and European banks. You remember that? I mean, and while this is taking place, MBF employees from the beginning of that till 2010, March of 2010, deposited $30 million to $60 million in customer funds into a U.S. government money market fund at J.P. Morgan Chase without properly segregating them, the CFTC alleged in a lawsuit. And this is some comments from Zero Hedge. Number 1, the company is finished. This company is finished. The moment that a Ponzi scheme gets investigated, everyone tries to get their money or medals out. Then the door shuts, and that's what a run is all about. Number 2, just like MF Global customers, or just like MF Global, customers of MBF will be crawling over themselves to get their hands on their commodity accounts, and just like MF Global, they will be stonewalled. He says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I wonder if Gerald Celente had an account with these guys. Number 3. Clearly, the CFTC is investigating all the riggers within the J.P. Morgan banking cabal as they are the ringleader. J.P. Morgan will be the final player to be investigated and thus will end the decades-long manipulation of gold and silver. Number 4. It is no coincidence that this lawsuit was filed directly on the heels of the Greek credit default swaps being triggered. This is part of the planned final battles. Number 5. This is the first proactive action taken by the CFTC, and it is a clear warning shot for all others running the global Ponzi scheme on the COMEX. Number 6. The timing of the retirement of the CEO of the COMEX, Mr. Craig Donahue, at 49 years old, was related to this suit. He claims here. He can run, but he can't hide. All in all, the takedown of MBF clearing should make everyone who trades on the COMEX through brokerage accounts more than just a little bit nervous. Watch for the mass exodus from all brokerage houses, then banks. Is this the beginning of the run? We'll know by next week. So we have all these things taking place in just a matter of a few days. Literally. I mean, I gotta tell you, I can't wait to see what happens with the whole Greek thing. All the news, it's just $3.2 billion that needs to get settled and this and that. $3.2 billion. What happened to the $100-something billion loans Greece was given that they've defaulted on, basically? They just took, what was it, 80-something% haircut, the bondholders. Where did that money go? And those bondholders are the ones allegedly that had these credit default swaps. At least most of them, or some of them, had these. So they can't possibly be a little old tiny piddly 3.2 or whatever some odd billion dollars that they have to settle up on. There's no way. So I guess I can't wait to see what happens next week. Doesn't mean it'll all unfold on the 19th or 20th. It might take a matter of days or weeks to unfold. There's no telling. But I'm still very interested in seeing. And again, if we're the flies on the wall, which we're not, we're the flies on the house next door looking over. What the hell's going on over there? I don't know. I kind of hear this yelling and I don't know. So we have to, well, what do you see? Well, I actually saw a chair flying. And I saw someone's hand go across and hit someone's face. Okay, so we can, sitting over here, even though we're not in the room, we can see there's an altercation going on, correct? Yes, that'd be a very good assessment. So because you and I aren't sitting in the boardroom of the CME group and JP Morgan and the CFTC, and all these other places, the new MF Global, whatever this place is, right? What was it? MBF Clearing. What can we see? Since we're not there live in the room with them, what can we see sitting over here in the bleachers? CEOs resigning. Of the last year, basically, massive amounts of high-level financial CEOs, vice presidents, just very high-level people retiring left and right. Over 100 and something, by the way, in just the last year. This guy, again, CEO of the CME group, the big, you know, the guys that change the margin requirements, and they only do it on silver constantly, so that when the price gets out of control and JP Morgan says, look, we're too blatantly obvious that we're shorting, can you help us out? Yeah, sure, we'll just change the margin requirements out of control on Friday night after the market's closed, so that Monday morning, by the end of Monday, you have to be in compliance, and everyone's going to sell off all their contracts because no one's going to come up with the extra cash to be in compliance. It would require all of them to do that who are holding contracts, because if just a few don't, the price, they're going to liquidate their silver contract, and it's going to push the price down a little bit, which hurts everybody else. It may put in some stop triggers, and everyone loses anyway. So naturally, it's a stampede to sell off, and they're going to lose anyways. But it's the first to sell off who make out better than the rest. So we have that taking place. We've got this guy dealing in the derivatives of Goldman Sachs saying, well, I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now, and I'm not happy with Goldman Sachs because we're not, you know, and I'm glad he said what he said about Goldman Sachs. But in all fairness, I think he's really leaving because there's a problem he might see coming with the derivatives issues across the world, and he don't want no part of that. And then we have, what else do we see from the bleachers? We see the CME group removing itself. Let me go quote that again. I gotta quote that again. Gotta quote that again. That was a good one. CME group. Excuse me. The request of CME group, Section 7 of the Commodity Exchange Act, they are wanting the CFTC to vacate the registration of them as a derivatives clearing organization. And this is supposedly one of the biggest, largest clearing organization for derivatives. They boasted about this, right? There's boasting. Now you're leaving it. And as Zero Hedge says, right now, when you're gonna be needed the most, because of the Greek credit default swaps taking place, which are gonna probably trigger other ones, why would you want to get out of the business? Business should be good. Business should be real good, right? Come on, where you guys going? The party's just getting started. That is what we see as people sitting back, conspiracy theorists who can't get in on these conversations, don't know, you know, a member of the board of JP Morgan or anybody else, Chase. We can only sit back and watch an event unfold and take the absolute facts that we see taking place and then comment on them. And what I just commented on is derivatives nightmare coming to a world and country near you soon. How soon? Nobody knows. Don't know. Can't tell you because I don't know. But the telltale signs are people leaving, and companies which were the most, the hugest market participant, leader in the market, derivatives, CME group, were leaving. CEO, or whatever his, I don't know what his title was, whatever, the guy from Goldman Sachs. Head of the derivatives division. I'm stepping down. And by the way, probably because he realizes the game's over, the derivatives nightmare, I'll never have and be in charge of a department like this when this thing settles, because there won't be a such thing ever allowed in the world when this is done. It'll be destroyed and it'll never come back. So my position here will never be available again. I might as well go out with a bang and let everyone know how I feel about Goldman Sachs, because while I made a ton of millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, it was nice when that happened. I'm kind of having second thoughts now, because now it's being taken away from him. So he's quitting before he gets destroyed in the derivatives market. He's quitting, and maybe a little conscience is kicking in, saying, you know, I'm kind of glad this thing's going to kick in here shortly after Greece, because we were doing the wrong thing. All banks were doing the wrong thing. The whole derivatives thing was actually wrong from the get-go, and now it's a ticking time bomb. And that's not what I was about when I first started. He's reflecting back on his life. You know, I'm reflecting back when I was a young buck. and he's letting the cat out of the bag. So I appreciate his words of wisdom about Goldman Sachs and the rest of the gang. But the most important thing is, what was he in charge of? Derivatives, and he's leaving. CME Group, derivatives, leaving. You follow me? So anyways, want to share that with you. Should be some interesting times here in the near future. Maybe this big push down on gold and silver is for a reason, before they let the reins loose, the dogs of war loose on silver. We could see a heavy, as I've said, I still have this in my gut. I was telling my boss here, my other boss, vice president actually, and where I work, I said, I just have this feeling, I told you guys this a while back, I still have this feeling in my gut that they're going to smash, I mean just smash gold and silver. And here's the reason why I think they'll do it. If they can pull it off, and I don't see why they can't, unless they were to get taken out by the CFTC before they could pull this off or something, I don't know. I don't see that happening. But here's why I think they're going to destroy it. If you look at the SLV and the GLD, paper traded stocks, which reflect an ounce of, for example, let's just go with the SLV. One stock, if you were to buy one share of stock of the SLV, it's like owning 1 ounce of silver. And the SLV is usually very close to the price of silver, because it's almost like owning an ounce of silver. Except it's a paper ounce of silver, and they claim, well, we've got, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like 300, or excuse me, 3,000 tons of silver or something ridiculous. No one's ever seen it. It doesn't exist, bottom line. But they claim it exists, so that everyone who buys in on these paper shares gets to own silver. Paper silver that you'll never really own. Which is why I can't understand why any bozo in the world would invest in the SLV when you can own the real thing, and you don't have the prospectus or the terms and conditions of the SLV, which I'm going to cover now. And to make a long story short, the terms and conditions, or what they call the prospectus of the SLV and the GLD, by the way, is this. If the trustee thinks, has a nightmare about the price of silver, or any condition, market conditions, any reason whatsoever, they reserve the right to close down the SLV, liquidate all of the precious metals we have in our warehouses, which they don't have, at current market prices, and then pay off every shareholder. Here's the price of silver. Therefore, you bought it at silver at $30. We've destroyed it down to $10. The trustee feels we need to liquidate and get rid of the SLV. And you may stand up and say, hey, I'm a member. I'm a shareholder. I've got a voice. I know the price of silver is going to go back up after this. Hang in there. We don't care what you think. The trustee thinks it's a good idea to sell right now. And all they have to do is pretend to sell the silver and gold that they don't have to, say, JP Morgan, and then JP Morgan pays them $10 an ounce, and then they give that out to their investors. Well, how could they possibly pull that off? Where's the silver? I mean, isn't someone going to see the silver? Who's going to pay for it? Well, here's how it works. Let's just, bear with me. Let's say the SLV right now, it's at $30. All these people buy in the SLV. They continue buying in, just like any stock, any retirement plan we got. You're going to keep pitching in your paycheck. So let's just say it's $30. Everyone's getting in the SLV at $30. And they claim we've got, 3,000 tons of, millions and millions and millions, whatever, ounces of silver. And 1 ounce equals 1 contract. So you have everyone's $30 for these millions of contracts, right? And then you destroy the price of silver on the fake market, and let's say they crash it down to 10. That's 2/3 less than what it was. So you can take the profit, right? You take the 2/3, you've had it the whole time. I mean, they've been paying it to you just like a company. So you have the 2/3 money in here. Here we go. And the price of silver is destroyed down to $10 an ounce. I'm making these numbers up, by the way, so just bear with me. They've got the $30 an ounce all in their bank accounts, whatever, right? The company, the SLV, has it. Price of silver is $10 today. We're closing down SLV at current prices. We've sold all of it, which of course will cause even more downward pressure on the price of silver. So as we're selling it, it's being destroyed even more. And then we're left with $7, $8 an ounce silver for some of you. Some of you get $10 an ounce. And it's gone. Here's your money back. Not money back, but here's your $7, $8 per contract, per share that you had, when in fact you were in at $30 per share. But remember, they used the 2/3 of that money. They have it in their possession. So they have more than enough money in their possession to pay all of you SLV holders back $10 a share when they destroy the price of silver and gold. So then no one's going to be able to say, well, show us proof that you sold this silver to whoever you sold it to. Well, we didn't actually sell it to anyone specifically. We put it out in the marketplace. In the market, we sold it off. And the trustee doesn't want to tell you who they sold it to, and they don't have to. If you read the prospectus of the SLV, and the same for the GLD, it is more than disturbing. It is terrifying. They can close it, they can do whatever they want for any reason they want, and they don't have to pay you any silver, they don't have to do anything, they can liquidate this silver at a blink of an eye for any reason that they want. Bad marketing conditions, done. So it is in my opinion that we have not seen the last of the bottom of silver. I really feel they're going to destroy, like I said before, they're going to destroy it, and then if they want in on it, they'll just buy up the real thing in the background once they destroy the prices, because the elite don't buy at fair market prices and they don't buy in the high. They destroy something, then they go in and buy it. And if you think about it, they have to get rid of the SLV. This is the 9/11 Twin Towers. How are we going to get rid of this problem and invade the Middle East? We'll have terrorists crash planes into the buildings, and then we'll demolish the buildings and blame it on the terrorists. So we'll place all the charges first. Right, so this is the SLV 9/11. We've got to get rid of this thing over here. We don't have the silver or gold. We never have. How do we get out of this? Destroy the price of gold, precious metals, gold and silver. Liquidate the accounts. Trustee steps in. Trustee's in charge. Hey, guys, trustee's in charge. Trustee says, we're selling. See you later. Nothing you can do. Meanwhile, little old J Step 4 and his subscribers, we've got our silver at our house in a safe or wherever you got it. Physical possession. Good. And by the way, $10 silver, $7 silver, wherever they can smash it to anyways. Oh my God. I'm going to go buy some more to stack on top of the rest of it that I've got. And then, once they get rid of the SLV, we're going to see all the position limit rules are now kicking in, the CFTC and the spot month, and a little while later, the full rest of the months, they're going to kick in, the non-spot months. Manipulation seems to go away, and then, oh my God, look at the price of gold and silver. It's out of control. And everyone who was holding SLV is going to say, damn it, why did they sell off, those sons of guns? And they're going to get pissed off and say, the guy just destroyed my retirement. We knew this was going to happen. They still sold off anyways. We told them and begged them not to do it, and the trustee did it anyways. And they're going to want some blood. But you and me, we don't need blood. We don't need to go kill somebody because they destroyed our investment. Why? Because if you listen to me, you would have physical silver and or gold in your possession, and these little moves, whether they're heavy duty up, heavy duty down, doesn't matter. Because you can sit on the sidelines and then wait till all the crap gets out of the way, all the corruption goes away, JP Morgan, all of it stops, and then you see the real price of gold and silver. It could be next year, could be the year after, I don't know. Doesn't matter, because the longer it takes, the more you can stack, and the more of a small fortune you will accumulate when it does finally kick in. And that is how I'm leaving you with this video. Keep that in mind. Take care.